Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we do here is fire. You guys know the drill. So let's get right to the show I have for you guys today. We are here on season 4, episode number 21, powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard go. Let's rock and roll. We have a couple segments we're going to be going over here on the Fire Sports Pod today on this gloomy Wednesday afternoon. Again, guys, we are going to be going over two segments into the NFL. First up, we're going to start with is the 2024 NFL playoff predictions. Jets, Bears, Chargers, all teams that did not make the playoffs last year. Now, could they make a jump into the postseason this year? There is the question. They have jumped and turned their teams around. The Bears are one of the youngest teams, but one of the most savvy teams. You got Caleb Williams at the helm at the quarterback position. You got Keenan Allen. You got DJ Moore. Um, you got a bunch of guys on that team, man, that can really do some damage. Um, Now, then you move to the Jets. Jets had a amazing build up to last year's start of the season, and Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays into the season. He is now back and ready and healthy as ever. So let's see how they do. Then you have the Chargers, who revamped their entire team, brought in a bunch of dudes. You got Harbaugh coming from the Wolverines from college to go coach the Chargers, and Justin Herbert. They moved a lot of pieces, so we'll see how well they do, and if they can make a jump. But last week, in total, there was listed 7 teams who made the playoffs in 2023 that could miss the postseason in 2024. Naturally, people got mad. No one likes being told their favorite team might not make the playoffs, but that's just how football and how sports go. But the math is pretty simple. On average, the last 3 years since the NFL expanded to the playoffs to 14 teams, we see somewhere between 6 and 7 different teams make the postseason each year. Whether it's injuries or variation in performance or just plain old random luck, the line is so fine between a playoff team and a non-playoff team. We see massive shifts every single year. With that in mind, let's dive into some teams who may take a step forward and make the playoffs after being on the outside looking in last year. You can find last year's list right here. It's featured some great calls: Texans, Lions, and some terrible ones: Falcons, Panthers, and one, the Jets, that got derailed by injury all over the place, not just Aaron Rodgers. If I left your team out, you're still mad about the other list, feel free to yell at me on Twitter at Will Brinson. So this is coming from CBS Sports and Will Brinson. Now, the New York Jets are one of those teams that I think, me personally, I think can make a run at the Super Bowl next year. They have all the talent in the world. They have the right pieces around Aaron Rodgers. Let's just see if they can all click and go on all run on the same cylinder. And can they coexist together with Aaron Rodgers? That is the big question. If that question is answered relatively early in the season, they will be able to roll throughout the whole season into the playoffs. Now, if that answer takes a while, you might see them miss the playoffs this year. And maybe next year they have the continuity and Robert Saleh stays one more year to see how it goes. But he might be out after this year. Jets fans, New York fans get feisty once they see their team not winning and producing numbers. Now, according to Will Brinson, speaking of those Jets, how they cannot top this list, they finished last year 7-10, outperforming their expected win total of 5.8 fairly significantly, but they also went 4-5 in one-score games, and quite obviously did all of this without Aaron Rodgers, who tore his Achilles 4 snaps into the season. The underlying problem for Rodgers, aside from his age, turns 41 in December, was the question marks up front on the Jets' offensive line. New York went all in on addressing that problems this offseason, signing my boy from the Dallas Cowboys, longtime future Hall of Famer, Pro Bowler Tyron Smith, and Morgan Moses, while investing a first-round pick in Alu Fashanu. Now, if the line holds up, the offense could be really fun. Rodgers plus Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, both solid double-digit looks for OPO, Offensive Player of the Year investments. equates to very fun trio. The Jets' other investments in the offseason aren't too shabby either. Mike Williams, a big play threat waiting to happen if he's healthy off his torn ACL last year, was a solid free agent signing, and both Malachi Corley and Braylon Allen are fun additions through the draft. Defensively, this team shouldn't miss too much of a beat as long as they get Hassan Reddick back into camp. This defense is still loaded at all levels. It is essentially comes down to whether Rodgers is healthy or not this year. Like I've been saying for the last year and a half, if Rodgers is healthy, the Jets will make a run for the playoffs and try to get that Super Bowl. If he's not, they ain't doing shit this year. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals. We all know what happened. Joe Burrow got hurt. Same thing with the Jets. Joe Burrow's hurt. Cincinnati sucks. The same above can be said for the Bengals and Joe Burrow. The oft-injured quarterback has had quite the interesting offseason, spending time in Paris, modeling for Fashion Week, and then showing up to a training camp, having gone platinum blonde and looking like Pete Davidson crossed with Ken Doll. It's either Burrow having lost his mind or Burrow preparing to go enormous this season and giving Joseph Burrow's penchant for winning when it matters most. I lean toward the latter. I don't know. Joe Burrow's been going crazy, like Will Benson said. I don't know what the hell's wrong with the dude, but hey, he's still one of the best quarterbacks behind Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the second best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes when healthy. You see it in the playoffs. Joe Burrow kind of owns Patrick Mahomes, so we'll see. I want to see this matchup again, Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. Now, the Bengals finished a full game above their expected win total last year and went 5-4 one-score games. Like the Jets, it's hard to really put their underlying statistics into context given their lack of QB health. Burrow hurt his calf in training camp around this time a year ago. Wasn't quite right until a few weeks into the season and promptly injured his wrist, knocking him out for the year. If you take the 5-game stretch of Burrow being healthy, week 5 to 9, he put up 17-game pace of 5,032 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. I was surprised too. T. Higgins possibly holding out could have been a red flag. Jamar Chase is holding in, could be as well. But I think this is just a case of the Bengals doing what the Bengals do. Chase won't miss any time. Higgins looks prepped for a full season, and both guys can just go out and earn massive contracts by playing well this year. Since he also added Jermaine Burton, and there's been some serious training camp buzz surrounding Andre Lozavaz. Now, defensively, there's some slight concern about Trey Hendrickson's contract, but I would guess their bare-handed pass rusher doesn't skip any meaningful time. So I think the Bengals have a shot at doing something great in the playoffs this year. I just think that, again, like the Jets, it's all dependent on if Joe Burrow is healthy for the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Now, Jacksonville. I don't know, man. Jacksonville's kind of ridiculous, bro. They have the team. They have it. They have the running back. They have the quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. This guy was supposed to be this dude that was coming out of college is going to be the best to succeed, whatever the case is. It hasn't really been that. It's been miserable years of having, they were like 8-3 one year, and then they lost like 6 out of the 7, and then they barely made the playoffs, or they missed the playoffs, and then it's just I don't understand. Correctly identify the Jaguars as a team that could miss the postseason 2023, nailing the flip between Houston and Jacksonville is full disclosure. I definitely didn't see it going down the way it did, with Jacksonville sitting pretty at 8-3 and utterly collapsing to close out the season. They went 8-3 last year and then freaking lost the last like 6 out of 7 games. In order to shore things up and get newly knitted billionaire quarterback Trevor Lawrence back into MVP chatter, the Jags went heavy at wide receiver position this offseason. Jacksonville signed Gabe Davis to pair with Christian Kirk and then used a first-round pick on LSU's burner Brian Thompson Jr. Davis has been banged up, and Thomas is a raw rookie, but with Kirk and Evan Ingram in the fold, along with Travis Etienne and second-year back Tank Big Shib in the backfield, there's no shortage of weapons for Lawrence. Jacksonville managed to still overperform its win expectancy, with the Jags' point differential suggesting an 8.7 win team. They ended up finishing 3-4 in one-score games, and underlying a statistical regression should be fairly normal. Like I said, guys, I think Jacksonville has the team. They have a good enough defense. They have a good enough offense. They just can't put it two together. They went 8-3 last year, and then they freaking collapsed 6 out of the 7 games. If they don't do that, they're a playoff team, and they might do something well. So let's hope. Now, last but not least, you have 4 teams actually. You have the Seahawks, you have the Bears, you have the Falcons, and you got the Chargers. Now, we talked a little bit about the Chargers before we went into the segment. The Chargers, man, they are going to either be a great team or they're going to be a shitbag team. Now, if the first 3 picks on this list can be classified as simple, a bet on a quarterback, then you can go ahead and classify this as a bet on a coach. Jim Harbaugh just wins wherever he goes. He wins. He is 144-52-1 as a college coach, which stops at San Diego, Stanford, and Michigan. He is 44-19-1 as an NFL head coach and took the 49ers to the NFC title game in his first 3 seasons, with 1 Super Bowl appearance as well. Now, somewhat ironically, within the time initially wrote this bet on Harbs section on the actual publication of this article, we saw the Chargers deal with a quarterback injury as Justin Herbert was diagnosed with a plantar fasciitis. Is not enough to get me off the Chargers yet, but it's absolutely concerning given how that type of injury can linger. This Chargers team isn't quite as stacked as across the board as the 49ers roster was when Harbaugh took over, but the Los Angeles is vastly better at a more important position, sporting at and in his prime Herbert as quarterback. Some folks are worried the run-heavy system Harbaugh implements will neuter Herbert's explosiveness, but I would push that back on that. Herbert's stats might not be as gaudy, but he'll be supremely efficient in 2024, and his downfield passing, which is some of the best in the NFL, will be lethal when paired with a vastly improved run game. If anything, Herbert was nerded last year when the OC Kellen Moore sunk his A-dot into the basement. So, like I said, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to help this team out tremendously. I think he's the right coach to take this team to where they want to be. But it's all about consistency. And will Justin Herbert be healthy enough to stay in the lineup? And will he make the right decisions with the football in his hands? Now, the next one is the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons is a tricky situation, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk Cousins, 36-year-old, signed into a monster deal in the offseason. Then they took Michael Penix Jr. as the number 8 pick in the NFL draft this year. So they're all over the place. But they have a hell of a team. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, upgrade quarterback, Desmond Ridder to Cousins, Michael Penix Jr. as a top 10 pick, Zack Robertson as offensive coordinator, Vikings into limbo. Dude, they have the freaking team. They could do something this year, without a doubt. But the funny thing is, last year the Falcons matched their win expectancy to the exact number, but went 4-5 in one-score games, including a humiliating 9-7 edge to the Panthers late in the year. A loss that essentially rammed a final nail into the coffin of their 2023 season. So they got to get better. Defensively, they're not as bad as people say they are. I think offensively, they gotten tremendously better by bringing in Kirk Cousins. Now, will Michael Penix Jr. give Kirk Cousins some competition in training camp? That is remained to be seen. Chicago Bears. Like I said, man, the Bears, they have plenty of weapons. They got the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams. Arguably, to me, I think that he's going to be a bust. I don't think he's going to be good. I think they should have kept with Justin Fields. I would have loved to see Justin Fields 3 years into his career with this type of an offense, similar to what he had in Ohio State, with the wide receivers at his disposal, with the offensive line, with the defense, and with a running game. I think he would have been much better in this situation. But I could be totally wrong. Caleb Williams could be a gem of a player and could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like C.J. Stroud. I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, you might say, just because of the quarterback, right? Well, he's got DJ Moore, Romeo Oduzzo, and acquired Carolina moving up to draft Bryce Young. So Montez Sweat they got, Caleb Williams. They have the team to win it. and to do something and move into the playoff. They have the team. Now, will they get the team and will they finish out strong? That is remain to be seen. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, they have different stuff. Now, Seattle, they have to have Geno Smith healthy. That's one. That's the numero uno. That has to happen. They got DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, Njimba, Tyler Lockett. Tight end Noah Fant is getting a little slept on to given his age and athletic profile. Kenneth Walker and Zack Charbonnet, as well as in the backfield. And there's good buzz about Charles Cross coming off the camp, taking a big leap forward at left tackle. Geno Smith is better than people think, and if he deals with a kind of injury, I like that fit for Sam Howell. In other words, the offense could be awesome. It's been a hot minute since the Seahawks were great on defense, and while there's no guarantee McDonald is immediately a great hire as head coach, I feel pretty confident about his ability to maximize this defense by moving guys all over the place and doing the same things he did in Baltimore. I'm particularly pumped about seeing what Devin Witherspoon is going to do this year. The Seahawks might just be the most sneaky fun team in football in 2024. I highly doubt that. I don't think they're going to be a sneaky fun team. I do think that they're going to be a good team. I think a sneaky fun team is going to be the Bears, the Chargers, the Falcons. Those are sneaky teams. The Seahawks are just going to be mediocre, I believe. That's just my opinion. But other than that, guys, we will be moving from the NFL and what's happening with some teams that could be making the playoffs to our second and final segment, staying with the NFL and going to the 2024 NFL preseason storylines to watch. Can Michael Penix Jr. make things awkward for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons? That is what is the big story. Now, number 10, Jim Harbaugh's NFL return. We talked a little bit about it. Arguably, the biggest splash this past hiring cycle was the return of Jim Harbaugh to the NFL. Now, after winning the national championship with the Michigan Wolverines, Harbaugh hightailed out of Ann Arbor and headed west for a head coaching job of the Los Angeles Chargers. While Harbaugh cemented back on the NFL sideline and setting the foundation to help turn the Chargers around is noteworthy storyline to watch develop this summer. I think he can. I think he's the only coach that can turn that franchise around. Now, number 9 will be the Broncos QB battle. You got Jared Stidham. He sucks. 60.6% completion percentage, 496 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7.52 yards per attempt. In the team's first unofficial depth chart, the Denver Broncos have listed veteran Jared Stidham as their starting quarterback. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson is the backup with the first-round rookie Bo Nix sitting at the third string, of course. These are unofficial, and it could stand to reason that the team is simply opting for seniority out of the gate. In any event, it will be interesting to see how Sean Payton divvies out of playing time for all three of these quarterbacks and whether or not Nix, the number 12 overall pick, has what it takes to unseat these veterans to start in week 1. To be honest, guys, I think you go in on your guy that you picked in the first round. I think you go with Bo Nix to start out the season. And if he doesn't do well, you start with Jared Stidham, and he doesn't do well, you put in Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson sucks. I think Jared Stidham sucks. I think Bo Nix is much better than both of them. So that's just my opinion. I think you should start Bo Nix. I think he's going to give you a better shot to win. Jared Stidham, like I said, I think he sucks ass, and I think Zach Wilson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. So, and that's been proven. Now, Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. Now, Sam Darnold, as we know, has been a veteran, has been a starter, has been a backup. And J.J. McCarthy coming from the national championship quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines with Jim Harbaugh. Will he compete with Sam Darnold? I think he will. I think Minnesota will have a shot to do some things this year. Minnesota and Sam Darnold listed as the team starting quarterback on their initial unofficial depth chart. Meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy, the number 10 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, is listed as one of the primary backups alongside veteran Nick Mullins. While it's only a matter of time before McCarthy does ascend as the Viking starter, Darnold could fend him off longer than many may assume. According to the reports out of Minnesota's training camp, Darnold has taken nearly all of the first-team reps this summer. With that in mind, McCarthy would likely need to light it up this preseason to apply enough pressure to make Darnold heat up. Now, Drake May's development in New England is another funny story and another tricky situation. For those who have seen Patriots training camp up close, this is Jacoby Brissett's job. Throughout the first couple of weeks camp, the veteran seems to have a stiff grip on week one's job. New England won't get to see its number 3 overall pick, at least early in the regular season. Maybe he endured an up and down camp, but he has flashed his potential at times. How that looks in a game with opposing defenders flying around him will be a key indicator to judge if/when we may see him in the regular season. That is remained to be seen. I think you probably see him probably by week 9, week 10, depending on how the Patriots season is going with Jacoby Brissett. Caleb Williams' era begins in Chicago. I don't think this is going to be a great era in Chicago. I think this guy's going to be a bust. That has been my take since the draft, before the draft happened. I don't like Caleb Williams. I don't dislike him as a person. I think he's a good kid. I think he's a good guy. I just don't think he's going to do well with the Bears and he's going to do well in the NFL. I think he's going to be a bust. Now, how rookie wide receivers are progressing, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the best talented wide receiver coming out of this draft and is going to turn into the best wide receiver in the league by far. Either this year or next year, he's going to be in that top category without a doubt by the end of this year. No doubt about it. Mark my words, with Kyle Murray healthy, you're going to get that guy. Now, Jaden Daniels, pushed to start week 1. I think Jaden Daniels should start week 1. I know you're currently batting with veteran Marcus Mariota, but I think Jaden Daniels should start week 1 without a doubt. I think he's the better quarterback, and I think you give the best time to win. That's how I see it. Now, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson. That is going to be one hell of a thing. According to the reports, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields got into it, into a little bit of a scuffle. And that will be the primary thing to see. Will that have anything effect on anything that happens? I don't think it will. I think Russell Wilson starts for the first by week 8. I think Justin Fields is put in. I think Russell Wilson is done with his NFL career. I think he's going to be washed. I think he's kind of going to fall off. I think I got Russell Wilson starting to between week 8 and week 10, and Justin Fields taking the job over between week 8 and week 10, and then finishing out the season. I think just having Justin Fields learn under Russell Wilson is going to be great for the first 10 weeks. I think will be fantastic for his youth. Now, again, if Russell Wilson does outwardly things for the Steelers with their offense and the way they're good, how good their defense is, then you might see. And there might be a Brandon Ayuk coming to Pittsburgh. There could be because New England said they're not looking to pick up Brandon Ayuk, so you might even get a Brandon Ayuk trade to Pittsburgh. And we're talking some big numbers for Pittsburgh. Add another wide receiver next to Pickens. So, now, how do teams handle the new kickoff rules? That has been the discussion since the freaking Hall of Fame game and even before that. For those who didn't watch the Hall of Fame game, they'll be introduced in the NFL's new kickoff rules when they tune into week 1 of the preseason. For those who need a refresher, our John Breach has a detailed look here. As a brief summation, 21 of 22 players on the field will now be lined up in receiving team's territory and cannot engage until the returner fields the kickoff. Most of the receiving team will be lined up at the 35-yard line, while the coverage team will be at the 40-yard line. Whether it is different wrinkles that the teams try to exploit, or even if it's an unimitated disaster, how this drastic change is handled will be interesting. In the Hall of Fame game, I didn't really think it was so cool. I didn't really like it. I wasn't a fan of it. It kind of sucks. We'll see how it does during the NFL season. I kind of like the regular kickoff because it's much better. It's more fast and more explosive, but they're just trying to save players and keep players healthy, which I'm all for, but I just don't like it. Now, do Michael Penix Jr. make things awkward for Kirk Cousins? This has been one of the biggest discussions because of what they did in the draft by picking Michael Penix Jr. with the number 8 overall pick, with signing Kirk Cousins to a monster deal over the offseason. Just didn't make any sense. Now, maybe the most shocking move of the entire offseason came with the Atlanta Falcons using the number 8 overall pick to draft Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr., particularly after just signing Kirk Cousins in a big monster contract like we said earlier in free agency. The move was even a surprise to Cousins and does create somewhat of a ceiling for how long his tenure in Atlanta will last. After all, the franchise will want to see Penix at some point, especially if he lights up the preseason. If that proves to be the case, it could further make this situation awkward in Atlanta. We should point out that Cousins' Week 1 job is not in jeopardy this summer, but the stage is set for fans to claim her for Penix if he puts together a strong preseason and the Falcons under Cousins stumble at any point this year. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have his money's worth. He's going to have to outplay, and he's going to have to stay. I don't think his Week 1 start is in jeopardy, but I think that if he does not play well enough, Michael Penix Jr. will be seeing the field very short into that regular season of the 2024-2025 season. I think he'll be there relatively short. That just depends if Michael Penix can do what he's going to do. It's just going to see. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for my show here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we do here is fire. You guys know the drill. I hope you guys enjoyed the show here on Season 4, Episode number 21 on this Wednesday afternoon. I appreciate all the support, guys. Keep it up. Again, guys, don't forget, my TikTok got banned, so that we are now on a new account, and it's called the Fire Sports Pod 2_2.0. Don't forget to drop a follow as well as like and share. We're trying to get back up to my 1,808 followers. We tapped that, and then my account got banned. So let's hope we can get back up there and sky past that in a jiff. But I appreciate it again, guys. Don't forget to follow. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the show. I appreciate it again. Again, we're powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard. I appreciate it, and we will see you guys on Friday for Season 4, Episode number 22. Peace out, guys.